two things in Atlanta that were just bad for Atlanta that were white were crack cocaine and Larry Bird. They were just not good for my city. But he was one of your biggest rivals.
Man,
you thought that you should have been on that list, that you should.
Yeah.
But what was it like playing against Bird, and what was that game 7 like, where it was the 2-point loss? Because we were all on the edge of our seats.
13 years of playing against Larry. You understand, we never shook hands. We never talked. We never spoke to each other. It was an unwritten kind of rule. You know, great players didn't want you to get that close to him. And so he didn't like me, I didn't like him at the time. But when I think about it years later, it was just about the respect that we had for one another. We just didn't want to get that close. Larry Bird is one of the most fierce competitors I've ever played against. I remember Game 7, and we should have won in Game 6. So we go to Boston, but they had a headline that Larry Bird predicted that they were going to win, you know, and go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so I remember coming out of the locker room, and I stopped, and I said, we're going to win this bleak game. I said, if you ain't ready to fight, you ain't ready to go to war, don't come out. I said, whoever guarded me tonight going to have a long night. Unfortunately, Larry Bird was telling his teammates the same thing down the other end. So it's set up for one of the most, it's considered the greatest shootout in 7th game history, you know, with two guys who didn't want to lose, try to will their team to a win. And that's when I really knew how tough Larry Bird really was, man. Because going into that 4th quarter, he only had 12 points.
Yeah.
He ended up with 34 for the night.
We have a few things that cross-section that we kind of have in common. We're both very familiar with Tuskegee.
Very much so.
The place and the university.
That's right.
My family is from Tuskegee. My great-grandparents were sharecroppers that worked their way to owning their own land. We still have 25 acres of farmland down there. My grandmother's biggest dream was for me to go to Tuskegee University. Booker T. Washington was an icon in the house. I ended up going to Morehouse instead, but I wore the white hoodie.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Without being asked, you wore the white sweater.
I did. Well, it's always in my heart, you know, but today I decided to put it on externally, so I'm feeling it. And my family also has a connection to Tuskegee. I'm one of 4. All 4 of us went to Tuskegee.
Wow.
My parents met at Tuskegee. My grandparents, my maternal grandparents met at Tuskegee, and my maternal great-grandmother went to Tuskegee.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have a long history there. My mom grew up, born and raised in Tuskegee, Alabama, and yeah, it's a big part of us.
You being in medicine means a lot because we were so underserved and underrepresented. I've heard stories from former teachers of when we didn't have doctors or dentists to go to. You'd have to go to these ad hoc places almost to go. My first doctor, my pediatrician, was Dr. Otis Smith, who was from Atlanta, went to Morehouse, and became the first pediatrician. So I understand the importance of black doctors. So Dr. Manning, thank you just for going into medicine, I gotta say.